Hi guys, and welcome back to Journey of Footsteps, and welcome to my kitchen. In this episode I'm going to be talking about why I decided to go to a plant-based diet. Stay tuned. So guys, welcome to my kitchen. Thought it was the most appropriate place to do today's video. So I decided to go to a plant-based diet kind of the end of July, beginning of August of this year. So I've not been doing it for too long, just over a month. But I decided to do it because I was kind of toying between my normal diet, which was obviously eating meat, fish, pretty much anything I saw. And I was toying between that and a vegetarian diet, so I was trying to kind of take out the meat but not too much. And then it got to a point where I just decided if I'm going to do something, I've just got to do it. So it was kind of a very overnight decision, clear cut. I went from my normal diet straight to vegan. I don't recommend this. It's down to personal choice. Some people say kind of weed off your normal diet slowly. I guess I kind of did that. But listen to your body, listen to yourself. You'll know what's best. When people find out I've decided to go to a plant-based diet, the first thing they say is why. So there's a few different reasons why I decided to. The main reason for me is health. I've been reading a lot and seeing a lot of programs about a plant-based diet and how it can help with your health, regards to inflammation, regards to longevity of life, and just general energy levels, etc, etc. So there's a lot of reasons why it benefits your health and a lot of science that backs it up. And for me, that was the main reason. So the second reason was because I now see a lot of athletes, professional athletes, turning to a plant-based diet, and they're all saying how good it is. So if it's good enough for them, it's definitely good enough for me. Reason number 3 is the more I read, the more I want to do it. I'm going to show you a book that I'm reading a little bit later, but I'm stuck to it. And then you go from that book to looking at more studies online, to watching more videos, more YouTube stuff. And the more you read, the more you see, the more knowledge you get, the more you want to do it, or more I want to do it at least. So that's one reason. And also, why not? There were no reasons for me not to try, and I think that was another big kind of milestone into why I decided to change. A common question I get is also, did I do it because I like animals or I love animals? I do love animals and I love nature, and I'm trying to be as considerate as possible with regards to the environment, especially recently, but that's not my sole reason for changing to a plant-based diet. I was told to watch some videos called 1,000 Eyes, which you can see on YouTube, but before you leave this video and then go straight onto those videos and watch them, I will warn you they are very, very, very graphic. They're videos inside an abattoir or a slaughterhouse. It's not nice, and it was very difficult to sit through and watch, and I have a very strong stomach. So that wasn't my reason, but after watching those videos, I didn't want to give my money to those companies that allow that to happen. So yes, it did alter my choice. It did affect my choice, but it wasn't the sole reason. So how's it been? It's been brilliant. I'll be totally honest. I have no negative things to say about it. People always say, oh, do you not miss meat? Not really. I'll be honest though and say I haven't been to a restaurant, so I've not had the opportunity to to go somewhere nice and eat like a nice steak, for example, or a nice hamburger. That's not been an option, but I don't miss it. My parents are being incredibly supportive and trying lots of new recipes, lots of new vegan recipes. But on days when I'm not home, they still eat some meat or fish. And knowing that's in the house and having the smells, it still doesn't make me want to eat it. So I wouldn't say I miss it at all. So I have to admit, I was paddleboarding the other day and there was a burger van just on the coast and the wind was blowing in my direction and it was blowing the burger smell and the bacon smell, and it did smell lovely, but it didn't tempt me to eat it. So that was a good sign for me, I think. Earlier in the video, I said that I'd read a book. So the book that I haven't read it, I'm reading it at the moment. It's kind of like my Bible, I would say. So it's by a guy called Darin Olien. It's called Superlife, and it's basically his it says on the front, his 5 simple fixes that will make you healthy, fit, and internally awesome. And it's not just a plant-based diet. He's talking about food in general, but he also goes into water, and that is like a whole nother video. That's super interesting. This is packed full of information already, and I'm about halfway through. The thing that I really like about this book is not only does he explain everything really well with scientific papers listed, so you can actually go and then read that paper or look it up online. At the back, he then looks at the foods that he eats for each purpose. He then gives you a plan, like a food plan, so you can try and follow it to make life a whole lot easier if you're starting out. So I haven't got to that bit yet, but I'm excited to get to that bit. So if you're thinking about becoming vegan or going to a plant-based diet, I really, really recommend this book. There's a good chance if you have Netflix that you may have already heard of his name. That's because he does a show called Down to Earth with Zac Efron, where they go around the world and look at environmentally friendly projects as well as superfoods. He is the superfood hunter. He's a very, very knowledgeable and very passionate guy. There's also lots of videos and interviews with him on YouTube. He also has a podcast. So I'll leave all the links to those things and the book in the description below. And it's a really good show. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. It's fantastic. It's really, really good. Zac Efron's a legend, and takes it all in his stride. I've got a whole new level of respect for him as well. But it's just a really, really fun show to watch and super interesting. There's also a show called Forks Over Knives, but I've just checked and I can't seem to find that on Netflix, so that may have been taken off. But you could check that out online, see if you can find it. But the one for me that kind of really hit home with regards to the plant-based diet was a show on Netflix called The Game Changers. So this is predominantly featuring athletes and is hosted by a martial artist. So for me, being a martial artist myself and very much into sport, it was a perfect method of getting the message across to me. But what was super interesting was after badgering my parents about them trying a plant-based diet and them not really being that interested, after they watched that show, they were talking between them about how they were going to do recipes. So have a look at that, check it out. It's a really, really good program. So for me, it was a very easy decision to make, and I wasn't too worried about recipes or anything like that. I was reading Darin's book, and that was giving me loads of information, and I'm quite open to trying new foods and trying new recipes, and I like to cook. So for me, that wasn't an issue. But it was interesting watching my parents, who for them, they were more concerned about that and looking at different recipes. So if you're thinking the same thing, and it's what am I going to eat? A very, very important thing to remember is not to say to yourself, what can't I eat, but what can I eat? So there's so much stuff out there that you can eat and things that you probably haven't even heard of or thought about, but the more you research and find them, the more interesting your recipes and your diets will get. Also, by cooking your food at home, and this is a point I'll go into in a little bit more, but cooking your food at home means you're going to be using whole foods, So real food. No preservatives, no additives. You're going to be using spices and herbs, and having them in their raw organic form is what gives you the nutrients and the goodness. When we buy products like burgers or even like vegetarian or vegan based food, like vegan burgers, there's stuff in them, preservatives, flavorings, additives that are no good for you. They're not good for your body. So for me, being plant-based and vegan is slightly different. Vegan is you're not eating meat or animal products, and some vegans will eat vegan option meals, i.e. frozen burgers from supermarkets. Being plant-based is that you try to avoid anything processed. You eat everything raw, if possible, and in its original form. I have tried some vegan options. I tried some vegan burgers and tofu sausages, and they were nice. I have to admit, the fake chicken burger I didn't particularly like. But for me, again, after eating it, it didn't sit right. It was kind of, you know you're eating processed food. Cook more. It's a good skill to have. You appreciate the food once you've cooked it. You get hungry whilst you're cooking it, so it tastes better once you've eaten it. Plus, you know exactly what is in your meal. You can look at your plate and you know exactly what's on it. So 2 books that I've been using. I found this one the other day. This is Vegan 1 Pound Meals by Miguel Barclays. I hope I've said that right. This is a really nice little book. Everything is meant to cost about £1 when you buy the ingredients, and everything is done so 1 serving. So if you're going to be cooking for free, you just triple it. So it's a really, really nice book, and there's lots of nice options in there. The other one is BOSH. This was given to me by a friend of mine. That's by Henry Firth and Ian Feasby. Again, if I've got those wrong, I apologise. Again, a really, really good book. The only thing I find with this is they like a blender. They always seem to use a blender in their recipes, but for me, it doesn't always work, and you end up with a mess and the blender's clogged up. And so I recommend using your hands, and especially with like falafels, which I'm going to cover in a video soon. You wanna use hand instruments, not so much a blender. So there are scientific studies that show when you heat up vegetables or basically food, you alter its state and it becomes less healthy for you. You also have to remember that, for example, if you have a piece of broccoli, that broccoli has come maybe from another country. Before it even gets to the shelves in the supermarket, it could be 10 days since being picked. There was a study shown, which again is in Superlife, that shows that after 10 days, the piece of broccoli had lost like 70% of the minerals and nutrients that you want to gain from it. The more and longer it's left on the shelf or in your kitchen, obviously that continues to go down. So if you then boil it or cook it, you kind of ruin its power. So in the evenings, I will tend to eat with my parents, and we have cooked meals. But if I'm having a lunch, I will try my best to have raw fruit and vegetables as a lunch. For an example, I would have some broccoli, some carrots, some tomatoes, some little corn on the cobs. I'm not really sure what they're called, but the mini kind of corn on the cobs. Celery, beetroot, avocado. Cut them all up, put them on a plate. Have some hummus for dipping, and I'll have some fruit like an apple and a satsuma, and then maybe a few nuts or a bowl of nuts. To add more protein, you can eat beans. So I get a tin of beans, like white beans or black beans, red beans, whichever you like. I have about half, so I empty half into a plastic container, put those into the fridge, use them another day, and I eat half with my lunch. It's an interesting point there. I said plastic container. I've been trying to put everything into plastic containers, into fridges or cupboards, and not cling film or plastic bags, because it reduces waste, and we don't want all of that going into our oceans. Breakfast, I always have porridge. So I get my porridge oats, I put them in water. If I remember, I put them in the night before and let them soak in the water. In the morning, I heat them up for about 3 or 4 minutes in a saucepan. In a bowl, I then put blueberries, raspberries, and a bit of maple syrup, and then toss the porridge on top, mix it all together, and that is my breakfast. Porridge is really, really good for your stomach, and it has loads of benefits for energy. Again, so that's a whole nother video. So I'll leave a link if I can find a good video about porridge, but it's a really, really good food to eat. So I have that for my breakfast. What do I drink is another thing. So mostly I drink water. I try and stay hydrated as best I can. So I drink lots of water. I stay away from coffee and tea. I will have a black coffee first thing in the morning, but no more throughout the day. Unless, for example, I'm going out and meeting a friend and we go to a coffee shop and I fancy a coffee. But again, that's with coconut milk or oat milk or soy milk. But during the day, I'm drinking mostly water. And if I want to drink a tea or something different with a bit of flavour, not that water doesn't have flavour, it does, I will drink like fruit tea or green tea. You can also have chamomile tea in the evening. It's very nice, it's very relaxing, very soothing. And finally, I also drink mineral water. But again, I'm going to do a video on water and drinks, etc. And there'll be more info about that in there. So final topic, I'm not going to end on this, but final topic is if you do try a vegan or a plant-based or even a vegetarian diet, you may find that your toilet habits change a little bit. So I won't go into too much detail, but it does tend to stink, especially at the beginning. And you might find that you need to go more often, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it might also be quite sudden. So you're taking on a lot of new foods, and these foods are super good for you and very good at kind of cleaning you out, and they're going to get rid of all the rubbish that's inside. And that is a process that your body has to go through. So be prepared for that. Make sure there's some nice smelly spray in the bathroom ready. And you might find that it changes either colour or consistency. Please don't worry too much. If it continues for a long time, obviously I recommend you go and see a doctor, or if you get any pain or discomfort, again, please go and see a doctor. There is a chart which I will put up now. Sorry about that. That is a chart that basically depicts on what is healthy and what isn't healthy, so you can look at it after you've done it. But again, it's, well, kind of hard evidence to whether or not your gut is healthy. So it's a really, really good thing to check. I did, however, read a blog on it, and the lady who is a vegan writer, she does say that after a couple of months or a few months, your body's got used to your new diet and things kind of even out. But to begin with, it can be a bit crazy, so just bear with it. Please don't get deterred, okay? There's a pun. But just kind of stick with it. But again, like I said, if you're getting pain or discomfort or you're worried, then please go and see a doctor. The other thing I want to say is variation is good. So yesterday, for example, I had raw vegetables for lunch. Today I have some leftover falafel mix, so I'm going to eat some falafels. Again, tomorrow for lunch I'm going to have raw veg and like a salad. Try and mix it up. This is a great way to experiment with your food. Have a different meal every night. You can get one of the cookbooks, start at page 1, cook the first meal, page 2, cook the second meal. And we did a bit of a test run, and the shopping came out cheaper. Obviously, it depends on what kind of food you're eating. Some of the superfoods, because they get imported from far away, they can be quite expensive. If you want to go like all out and go organic, sadly, and it frustrates me, but a lot of organic food can be quite expensive. But a key thing is shop around. Don't stick to one supermarket. Go to all different supermarkets. I went out with a pen and paper with all the foods that I wanted to find, and then I wrote down all the prices from all the different supermarkets, and then I could see where I could get certain things cheaper and made up certain lists for those shops. So that's an example of something you could do to save some money. Also, eating raw veg and raw fruit in the UK at least is quite a cheap way of living. I know from living in Japan, fruit is very expensive, so it can be a little bit more difficult. So depending on where you are in the world, obviously prices vary. So that brings me to the end of this video. I hope that wasn't too long and tedious for you. I hope maybe I've influenced a few people into trying it, but again, it's totally up to you as an individual. You've got to enjoy your life and enjoy your food and enjoy your cooking time. So do what you decide to do. I'm loving being plant-based at the moment, but just remember, if you do decide to do it, remember the phrase, not what I can't eat, but what I can eat. So it's all about being positive. Focus on what you can eat. Okay, thanks again for joining me here at Journey of Footsteps. I hope you enjoyed that video. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit the bell button. That will let you know when our next video is uploaded. Next video will be Sunday, but on Wednesday next week, I hope to do a Journey of Footsteps cooking video. So I'm going to be looking at some simple recipes on Wednesdays to get you in the kitchen, to get you eating plant-based food. So even if you don't want to go completely plant-based, maybe on a Wednesday you can check out a interesting recipe. Thanks a lot again, guys, for tuning in. I really appreciate your support, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, quick tour of today's lunch. So we've got some homemade falafels made by moi. Then we've got some tomatoes, some carrots, some watercress and cucumber. And on the side we've got a bowl of mixed nuts and dried fruit, peach, and to drink we've got some mineral water.